Hey everyone. So today I want to talk to you about the idea of understanding historical context and how historical context can be a really important way to understand a moment in history or a text that you are reading, because events and things that we produce don't just happen outside of context. Like, we create things because of the situations that happen around us, because of political and social and economic things that are going around us. So, in order to understand an event or to understand a text, we really need to understand the historical context that that text or that event is situated in. So, your topic is understanding historical context, and your essential question is, how do social, political, and economic factors help us understand events in history? So, when we talk about context, what we're really talking about is the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms of which it can be fully understood and assessed. So, we don't want to just know about singular events. We want to fully understand events and ideas, statements, things that we read, books, all of that. We want to fully understand those things. So, context, like this quote says up here, is at the core of historical thinking, and it requires, among other things, making connections between historical eras and circumstances in particular events and accounts. So, as we explore civil disobedience, we need to understand the historical context that was going on within those events, within those movements, within the actions that people took. In addition, as we begin reading Antigone, I want you to understand the historical context of Antigone and what was going on, what prompted Sophocles to write this play, to perform this play, what kind of political, social statements was he making. So, those are all really important things. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how to go about determining context and historical context. So, when we talk about historical context, we are talking about a big umbrella term that has little things that fall within that umbrella. So, one of those is political context. What politically is happening? How is this situated within a political timeline, right? Social context, groups of people, social identities, races, ethnicities, religions, all of that, and economic contexts. So, I want you to think about, when we think about historical context, cause and effect, but also influence and impact, because sometimes, a political situation won't directly cause another thing to happen, but it might influence the events that are happening and that are going on. So, I want you to ask yourself, what kind of government structures are in play? What kind of government decisions are happening, and how might that influence or impact? What tensions exist or existed between different parties and belief systems? Who was in control? If we're talking about, the period of time between 2016 and 2020, like, we're going to have to talk about Trump. If we're talking about like the 8 years before that, we're going to talk about Obama and other political leaders at that time. So, knowing who was in power and what ideologies sort of pushed ideas forward. What is the nature of relationships between countries and different political leaders? If we talk about social context, what are the relationships among people and different people groups as well? How do people interact with each other? And how do people live? That goes back to our culture unit. Okay, so think about the things that you know about culture, norms, groups of people, stuff like that. And then the economic context. How is wealth created? And I don't mean like, how do you print money? But what I mean is like, who is generating wealth for whom? What kind of jobs are there? Who creates wealth? Is it, what kind of economic systems are there? And I know that y'all are in econ right now, so you can probably draw on some knowledge from that. How is wealth distributed? Who has access to jobs? What is the ability of a government to meet the needs of its citizens? So, those are all things I want you to think about. And those are questions you should be asking and trying to situate the things that you're studying within knowledge about these questions and answering these questions.